I didn't have anyone in my family that was a millionaire, right? And so when I wanted to start a business or wanted to work with people where I needed to have funding, I didn't have that at my disposal. What I did have at my disposal at that time was the knowledge of where to go get it, which I think is something we don't talk about a lot, is if you know who to go talk to, it does open up those doors for you. It was sort of founded on that. And this idea that there is a group of people that are very passionate about business, that have great ideas, and in many cases, they can run a business perfectly fine, but no one's taught them how to do it. And no one's given them the means by which to go do it. Unless you go put a bunch of loans on your credit card or you borrow from the bank, that's difficult to do. And in some cases, you're talking about businesses that need a little bit of runway before they can generate revenue. And so where do you get that runway? A lot of times when we work early on with these companies, they come in there like, we want a grant. You don't have a business checking account. Let's go do that first. And so really setting them up to really succeed where they haven't necessarily been taught that before.
"90% of startups fail, not from lack of ideas, but lack of funding. For small businesses, access to capital can make or break success. Yet traditional funding still favors the few. What if technology could level the playing field, giving every entrepreneur a fair shot at business readiness? Kelsey Ruger helped build Hello Alice to remove the barriers and give small businesses the tools they need to thrive. Welcome to the show, Kelsey.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited about this conversation because I wish Hello Alice was around when I was an entrepreneur.
I hear that a lot from people.
Yeah. So why do so many small businesses struggle with access to resources?
You know, I have a very unique way of explaining this to people. I grew up with my grandfather in Savannah, Georgia. And back then, I didn't know he was an entrepreneur, but he was not only a pastor, but he had a business where he would build houses for underprivileged families and support them through that. And, you know, when I got to be an adult and I saw the differences in what he had to deal with and how some of the entrepreneurs that I was interacting with as an adult got to start their businesses, it became very clear that access to funding really is about access to the entire network of things that you need as an entrepreneur, whether it's knowledge that you can only get from people who've done it before, where there's access to people who have the funding. And what's really more important is access to money that doesn't cost you anything for the most part, you know.
It's interesting. A lot of pastors are entrepreneurial by nature, it seems like. So,
yeah, I think that is the case.
And even my own family, my father and mother had some entrepreneurial tendencies. I don't know if they would call themselves entrepreneurs. At SoftTech, we don't just follow the trends, we set them. As the founder and CEO, I've built a team that excels in delivering cutting-edge solutions in software, hardware, and IoT. From concept to completion, we're the partner that turns your tech dreams into reality. SoftTech, where innovation starts. Thinking about my own journey, back when all you really had available was the Society of Retired Executives, right? And then trying to understand, well, how does this all work, right? Because it is what is available to me. Can I get a business loan? Should I get a business loan? How do I accept credit cards, right? How do I structure my business? So I think that what you're doing is very needed.
Well, when our founders started Hello Alice, it was sort of founded on that. And this idea that there is a group of people that are very passionate about business, that have great ideas. And in many cases, they can run a business perfectly fine, but no one's taught them how to do it. And no one's given them the means by which to go do it. And unless you go put a bunch of loans on your credit card or you borrow from the bank, that's difficult to do. And in some cases, you're talking about businesses that need a little bit of runway before they can generate revenue. And so where do you get that runway? And that was really what really drove Carolyn and Elizabeth to start the company, to fill that gap for those owners that didn't have a rich uncle or didn't have someone to teach them how to run a business.
Yeah, when I had my first business, I did get an SBA loan eventually, right? But what happened was there were so many restrictions based on what I could use that money for. So I had a services-oriented business, and they're like, well, no, you can't use it for product development. You can't use it to hire people that you want to hire to maybe develop a product. You need to use it for your new office space. You need to use it for buying new office furniture. And so it actually did the opposite for me in that business, where now I had this, I went and got a new office and new equipment, and because I had an SBA loan, but now it's a liability that I had to pay off, but it wasn't really helping me improve my business per se.
Right.
And so,
or even grow it.
And grow it, right, exactly. The benefit of that loan was actually a boat anchor. Not actually a launch pad.
Yeah, that's sort of at the root of where we are now with Hello Alice, because we've watched this really over the last 5 years, and we watch companies go get funding or they go get a loan, but not really understand, kind of like your situation. You get the SBA loan, but you can't do the things that are going to make your business healthy. And so one of the things that we really started to focus on is, what are those elements that make your business healthy so that you can actually grow and service the customers that you are targeting?
And so that you coach them, and you have a platform that provides that information?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different things. The platform provides the resources, the education, and in many cases, the funding, either through credit, loans, or grants. But the big thing is we have a function called the health score. And the health score lets us evaluate where these businesses stand from a health perspective. Are they doing the right things to be healthy? Are they watching their credit ratio? Do they have the right of debt protection? And so a lot of times when we work early on with these companies, they come in there like, we want a grant. And we're like, you don't have a business checking account. Let's go do that first. And so really setting them up to really succeed where they haven't necessarily been taught that before.
So Hello Alice just is really a partner for the small business owner to help coach them through all aspects of running a business.
Yep. And a partner for the enterprises that have much the same mission that we do, but don't necessarily have the community relationship that we've built with the small businesses.
I see. And so making those services available and making startup founders aware that they exist, right?
Right.
Well, so how do you see this business readiness evolving?
So to really explain this, I like to give an analogy. Let's say you're a marketing agency. What's the number one thing people come to you as a small business and ask for? A logo, right? But as a marketing agency or a PR agency or a branding agency, you actually know they need messaging and they need to know how to talk about their product in order to sell it, because the logo is just the outward expression of their messaging. The same thing applies with a business. Most of the time when people start a business, the first thing they think of is, I need funding. They don't think someone needs to help me with my books and someone needs to help me with my financing. And so one of the things that we've recognized really quickly at Hello Alice as AI has evolved is it helps us scale our ability to advise the small businesses. Today, a lot of it's us sitting and talking with them directly. That works great for 1 or even 100, but if you have 1.5 million, how do you scale that? And so one of the ways we look at AI is to help scale our expertise and to be able to tie it more specifically to what is this business dealing with specifically. And so if this business is dealing with a cash deficit and this business is dealing with, I need to market my product, they don't necessarily need the same advice, although maybe overlap. And so AI has helped us really be able to scale that expertise and help a business very specifically on their problems.
It's almost like you set the company up to be an AI entity, right? With Hello Alice, right? So I don't know, maybe you don't call your AI Alice. But
we're talking about what to call it right now.
Yeah, I like the analogy with marketing. Everyone wants to go to like, hey, I need a logo. But it's like, well, why do you need the logo? Right. What are you going to do with the logo? How do you have your brand? There's some check boxes that you need. It's kind of like, hey, I need a website, right?
Right.
But why do you need a website? What are you going to do on the website? It's actually a lot harder to start talking about how to tell your story on that website, right?
Nearly everything we've talked about, we cover. I want to post on social media. Why? And why do you want to be on TikTok? Is that the right platform for you?
Is it? Actually, we do have a soft tech TikTok, but we don't do anything with it because it's, I'm not sure B2B hardware and software services is a good platform for TikTok. But so how many businesses have you helped so far?
We have 1.5 million users on the platform.
Wow.
We've done just under $50 million in grants over the last 5 years. So quite a bit.
That's an impact.
And they cover the gamut. So we've helped everything from startups that write software to beauty salons to candle makers. And so it's been both Main Street and Silicon Valley.
And the business model it's free, or it's like a subscription, or the service providers pay for it, or how does it work?
The business model is that our partners work with us to fund the programs that we are providing to the businesses. We also get revenue from our Business Solutions Center, where we have products that are specifically geared to those small businesses. So it might be an accounting software or CRM, but we do a really good job of curating what we put there to make sure that it's the right choice for those small businesses.
So talk about how Hello Alice is actually using the data to improve the health of the business.
So there's several different ways we use it. The health score that I mentioned earlier, we use the score that the user receives to make recommendations on the platform. We also use that data to inform what types of programs we need to be building, what types of resources are missing from the platform that we might need to go get. And we collect quite a bit throughout the course of their time with us, whether it is through a grant application or the health score or what they put on their profile. Really, it's to gear the recommendations that we make in the programs that we create.
Is it a lot like when you go to your credit score? You see like a gauge of like where you're at, or how does it actually materialize? What am I looking at on my dashboard?
Well, have you ever heard of the company Upstart?
Yes.
So our approach to this is a lot like what Upstart did. Is the traditional credit score is based on some factors that contain elements that may exclude people that may otherwise be perfectly well suited to get a loan or something other related that a bank might want to offer. And so our approach with the health score was really the same. We compare it to the credit score, but it's really more of a score to help equalize the playing field, to make sure if you go get a loan and I go get a loan, or you need a recommendation and I need a recommendation, it's going to be based on what we need, not necessarily other factors that maybe shouldn't be considered in that process. Mm.
It's kind of like where I think healthcare hopefully we'll get to at some point, right? Where, everyone, you and I are not taking the same pill, right? It's like you really want to have something tailored to, what I need and what you need.
Exactly.
Right? So how has your background in product and design influenced Hello Alice?
So I think a lot of times people think building products for small business owners is different than building products for a consumer. The first thing I tell them is small business owners are consumers too.
You're right.
And they're human too. And so what has really helped me is understanding when you're dealing with a small business owner, you're still dealing with a person who maybe is playing multiple roles. And you really have to understand what they need and why they might need it as a small business owner to help make the right decisions about your product and how it's designed and what you choose to prioritize as a part of that process.
So you're saying like designing for small business is exactly the same as designing for a consumer interface? Or?
I think at the highest level, yes. Of course, at the lower level, it's two different audiences. Mm-hmm. But sort of the analogy I would give you is when you go into a restaurant, for example, that experience doesn't happen in parts. You don't work with the hostess and then work with the waiter and then work with the kitchen. You as a consumer see that as one experience. Mm. And that is the case whether you're dealing with a website with games or a website that is your checking or your booking account. So what I mean when I say they're very much the same is it's one experience. And you have to really think about it as the user's experience and not user experience. And so instead of thinking about what we build, think about what that user is dealing with and what they're feeling. And there's a lot of different factors you got to deal with. Their historical baggage that they bring to that experience, their expectations that they have. And I don't think that changes just because you're a business owner. You still want good software and you still have goals that you're trying to get to. Now, you might have a different set of principles that you apply for business software, but you're still designing for a human on the other side of that screen.
I see what you mean. And so there can be a lot of variance. Obviously, there's a huge amount of variance between one business and another. Like you said, you're either doing gaming or like in our venture studio, everything from healthcare to space tech to, med tech, et cetera, right? But a lot of the problems are the same. But what you're saying is there also has to be a customized approach.
Yeah, and that sort of points the way to what we are doing with AI. When we started working with AI in our small business, probably almost 2 years ago now, I spent a lot of time teaching owners, here's how you write prompts and here's how you use ChatGPT. And then I took a step back and I thought, no business owner really wants to learn how to write prompts. What they want is the thing that the prompt gets them. And so as we thought about how to evolve our own platform, that's kind of the approach we've taken is, sure, prompt writing, and I think everyone should know it at a certain level, but I don't even think I really want to write prompts when I'm writing. I just have to.
Some people think there's going to be such a thing as a prompt engineer.
Right.
But I don't know. I think we'll probably get past prompts fairly quickly and not have to have prompts.
Yeah.
Right? You're just going to be able to talk to the AI naturally, get what you want out of it. Yeah.
I drive my team crazy talking about tools where we can dictate to it. I almost don't type half the day now. I dictate a lot, and it's usually into an AI or some other tool where I want to be able to capture my thoughts quickly.
And so that works pretty well?
Oh, I love it.
What do you like for a dictation app?
My main one is a tool called Whisperflow, and it's actually AI based. And what's really cool about it is if I say, so Chris, here's this list of things I'm going to give you, and I name the list, the AI will turn that into a list. And it will also take out my ums and my ahs. And if I say, wait a minute, I didn't mean to say that, what I meant to say, it'll edit that on the fly for me. And that is really probably the main reason I like it, because we've had things like Dragon Dictation for decades, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
40
it wasn't
years
that
ago.
smart. Yeah.
But it wasn't smart. You're right. It's just dumb. So what lessons perhaps can you share lessons learned in scaling Hello Alice?
Oh man, I literally could probably write a book about this. I always think that the main thing you need as a business owner is good leadership skill, because so much of it is about influencing other people to do things, even if you have that skill set, to get that work done. And so for me, the biggest lessons I've learned is create psychological safety and space for people to do the things you hired them for. And you'd be surprised at how often, if you give them that space and the expectations are really clear, people will do the things you want. I think it's when you don't give them that space that you get people to sort of go into the shell, where then you have to spend a lot of time managing them and re-explaining because they don't feel safe to go do those things.
Does Hello Alice address that leadership gap?
We do. And there's another level I think we have in our company that I first learned about it in this book called Traction. Is our founders are very visionary. They use me as the integrator, right? Like someone who's going to be in the day-to-day operations, understanding what's going on. And so you have that clear delineation of, we can all do all the same stuff, but I think that helps too, to make sure that you have the operator and you have the visionary because both things are important.
Yeah, it's a great book, the EOS, entrepreneurial operating system.
Yep.
We use that at SoftTech as well.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Basically, you need that integrator. You need different roles, visionary. So what's next for Hello Alice?
So I talked a little bit about AI. And really, when I talk about AI for Hello Alice, you hear people talk about AI agents and agentic AI a lot. Well, we've really thought about it a lot and how we can build those advisors that I talked about earlier that we can't be everywhere, and you can't always assume that every business needs the same advice. And so our future is really geared toward creating agents that can help owners in specific situations and switching context as needed. So if you need finance help, it's going to be very finance based, and that agent is only going to worry about that versus one giant AI trying to do everything. And I think without getting too geeky, that's where you get into problems with hallucination or data that doesn't matter. So we try to refine that or restrict that to the domain that the user needs the most help with at that moment.
So you envision having agentic AIs for like specific role types, like, hey, here's our AI for marketing, here's our AI for financials, here's our AI for go-to-market or sales. Each one is a different AI.
Yep. And
agent.
we hope the agents can learn from each other. And we, again, without getting too geeky, we sort of watch on the back end what's being asked, what responses are being sent, so we can make adjustments as well to make sure they're getting the best answers and direction.
You think there's going to be a business where we just have the AI agents instead of those roles?
I honestly, my advice to a lot of our small business owners is to become really, really comfortable with AI, because when you look at most of the time we spend in business, a lot of it could be automated. We just can't yet because the tools aren't all there. And it doesn't necessarily mean the human aspect goes away. It means we can spend more time with clients and building the actual business instead of working in the business, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs started the business for anyway. And then they find out I have to actually run this business. And if we could take that part and have the AI help them with that, where they can focus on growing the business, so much more enjoyable.
Well, some people feel there's going to be a day when it's just a solo entrepreneur with a bunch of AI agents and you've got $1 billion company.
I mean, I think for some business models that'll work, and others, I think the jury is still out on some of that.
Yeah, we're probably a ways away from that.
Yeah,
it's a nice thought. If I'm interested in Hello Alice and I'm a founder and I want help like this, where do I go?
I think you can go to the website and you sign up, complete the health score, which is sort of the first step for us to give you those recommendations. Then you may be recommended any number of things. We have accelerators. We have grant programs. We have the Solution Center where you can find tools that can help grow or sustain your business. So signing up is the first step, health score second step, and then just follow the resources. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention we do have a community that has lots of owners in it, giving each other advice, sharing their war stories. And so that's sort of the next step you might take as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on the show and talking about HelloLS. I think it's absolutely something that's been needed for a long time.
Thank you.
For startups and entrepreneurs. I do have some socks for you.
Actually,
some bunny socks.
I was going to say, are they the same socks you got?
I've got goat socks on, but I'm giving you some bunny socks.
They're rabbit.
Follow the white rabbit, right? So, well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I know how important staying informed is for innovation and growth. The Forging the Future newsletter brings you the best in tech trends, startup advice, and industry insights. Join our community and forge your future with us. Subscribe now.